Oh, is that you? Did you just walk in on episode 18 of the Spotlight Games podcast? I'm one of your hosts, Patrick Schweigert, and I'm joined by Nostradamus himself. I'm joined by a seer, the youngest mind who can see the future, a man who seems to just know everything that's happening in the video game industry 2 weeks before it does. Kamen Darty. Kamen, how are you, sir?
I actually would prefer to be referred to as Miss Cleo going forward
Okay. I
because
can
my
do that.
predictions are on point.
I can do that. I can promise you that I will call you Miss Cleo at least once today in this episode.
Good.
For those of you who don't know, we have a great show for you. There's another big acquisition that happened. PlayStation yesterday announced that they are buying Bungie, the developers behind Halo, the original Halo. They created Halo, and then now currently Destiny. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to give you our official review of Pokemon Arceus. Just dropped on Friday of last week. Is it going to be spicy? Is it going to be sweet? Is it maybe going to be a little sweet and spicy with some egg drop soup on the side? Only way to find out is if you keep listening, folks. But before we jump into any of that, why don't we do some quick housekeeping? As always, we'd love it if you would rate and review the podcast on the podcast app of your choice. Don't forget you can be on the show by emailing us your thoughts and questions to mail@spotlightgames.net, or you can DM us on Twitter @SpotGamesPod or on Instagram @SpotlightGamesPodcast. In fact, a topic we're going to be talking about today was brought to us not 10 minutes before we recorded by someone on Instagram who posted. So you know who you are, Skylar. So we're going to talk about that as well. And of course, we love it if you would subscribe on our YouTube channel as well. The link to this week's episode is in the description of the episode. So click on that for an easy way to subscribe. And you think I'm done with housekeeping? I'm not. Don't forget, newest episode of Save Trash Cinema. We're recording in just 2 days, in just one
The
day, 2 days.
the day this episode releases, we will be recording
Correct.
a very special Valentine's Day episode for all of the trash crusaders who like their chocolates with a little bit of pickaxe.
Ooh,
We will be announcing it here. Actually, I've done a little bit of a teaser on socials earlier, so if you haven't seen those, you can go to the @Save Trash Cinema on all of our socials for that. But the film that we will be doing for the next episode of Save Trash Cinema will be the one and only the 1981 masterpiece, Trashterpiece, My Bloody Valentine.
I'll be the judge of that.
I hope all of you are ready. This is a wonderful time. It's a truly special movie. And so you should tune in for that. It's going to get sweet and spicy.
So, and bloody, I guess. And
a lot
with a little bit of love in there. So make sure you're subscribed to that pod feed, to the Save Trash Cinema pod feed, so that you can get the newest episode when it drops next Tuesday. Kamen.
Yes.
Housekeeping is over. We have a lot to discuss. Typically we're going to start this episode like we start every episode with what we've been playing, except we're not doing that, except we are, because the first topic is going to be our official review of Pokemon Legends Arceus, which is exactly what we've both been playing. So this is a bit of a twofer, you might say.
Mm-hmm.
Two for the price of one, Kamen. So this is how I would like to do this. Obviously, it sounds like you've been playing the game a little bit more than me. I've got my fair share in. So why don't we can go through your experience first. I want to talk overall thoughts. I want to talk how many hours we've been playing, what's working, what isn't, all of that in between about the game. So we can just kind of ping pong back and forth throughout those things together. So first, I want to ask you, Kamen.
Sure.
What are your overall thoughts of Pokemon Legends Arceus?
Whoo, boy. That is a loaded question. My overall thoughts of Pokemon Legends Arceus is that this easily is the best Pokemon has been in at least a decade. The hope when they announced the game last year, 2 years ago, I think it was like in February of 2021, they actually officially announced the game. The hope was this would be the next logical step for Pokemon going forward. Then there was some trepidation. There was some fear because, why fix something that's not broken? And people were getting a little edgy. Totally understand. I was feeling a little edgy. The anticipation was getting to me. However, I am currently 16 and a half hours in. Um, and I have to say, this is an incredible game
Yeah.
that has taken the Pokemon formula and it's kept it at its roots the same, but it's changed it just enough that essentially you are getting a Pokemon that feels fresh for the first time in a very long time. I know a lot of people were very hesitant when rolling off of Sword and Shield. They A lot of people like the open world mechanics more, where you could catch your roaming Pokemon in the wild. However, there were some issues with that. I feel like they haven't 100% nailed it just yet, but this is leaps and bounds better than Sword and Shield
Yeah.
in that regard. The Pokemon battles themselves, you're not battling trainers like you would. You're not going to be just stumbling across them or forced into encounters with trainers. There are forced fights that you do have to take. So you will, and I will say, out of the almost 17 hours I've played so far, I would say total, I've maybe done 10 total mandatory battles with another trainer,
Yeah.
which compare that to normal Pokemon, you're looking at about 150 by this point.
Sure.
I like that. I think that that's a lot more fun because you're
I
not
agree.
forced into that. And most of your actual encounters you're going to do, they're going to be you can do stealth, you can try to, which is mainly how you're going to do it, but you're just going to be catching Pokemon. You're not going
Yeah.
to be battling. There are instances like if you come across what they call as an alpha Pokemon, which is essentially it's a way higher level than a normal one of that type that you would find in the wild. A lot of times it's going to be a rare Pokemon that you can only catch as an alpha, so an evolved form of a Pokemon. You can catch an alpha of that. Those Pokemon, you will. I haven't had a single fight yet where I've been able to catch one without having to engage it in a battle. And then once you get in that, it is really a test of your skill. Like that is a skill. So, and I will say this too. I do think that this potentially could be the hardest Pokemon has been
Yeah.
in a very long time as well. Like, not that it's like overly difficult, like Dark Souls hard, or it's going to kind of sour you because you're like, shit, I'm just getting the crap kicked out of me over and over and over again. Um, it's just you have to be very, very careful on what Pokemon you're sending in a battle with some of these alpha Pokemon because they can wreck your shit real fast.
Yes, they can.
Um,
They sure
and
can.
so it does add like an element of difficulty, which I think is actually a really good thing
Me too.
because I distinctly remember playing Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and just being like, God damn, like this is so easy. And then there was also where some people were saying that they're worried that this was going to be like Pokemon meets Monster Hunter, which I don't think it is
That
at
was my
all.
biggest concern, and it's not like that at all. Like I even some of the people that were doing their reviews online or on Twitter were talking about how like it has Monster Hunter elements, and I was like, no, I don't want that because I don't like
Mm,
Monster Hunter, but I see what they meant, but I don't necessarily agree. I mean, you could say it's just because like you're getting missions from a town like that. Like
yeah.
that's how a lot of games work.
Which,
Um,
from what I can tell so far, unless I've completely missed some element, all of the side quests that you can take on are completely optional.
yeah,
You can play the game without doing a single side quest. I don't recommend it, mainly because the side quest to me, honestly, is probably the best part of the game.
yeah,
It makes you change up your play style. It makes you do things you wouldn't normally do. It would make you go catch Pokemon that you normally wouldn't want to catch, or try to catch variations of Pokemon that, in a lot of instances, like for me, I would only want to catch once. I don't need
yeah.
the 7 different variations of a fucking Burmy. Now I want to catch 7 variations, and I think that's awesome. I mean, but there are downsides. Um, the story and Pokemon is never known for an engaging story, and unfortunately, the story here, if there is one, which 17 hours now into the game, the story is actually starting to show itself. Like
Oh,
you're
interesting.
starting to like really the wheels are starting to churn, and you're like, yeah, it's just a little too late for the narrative. But even that, like what narrative they're giving you isn't super engaging, but that's okay because the gameplay, like the moment to moment gameplay is super addictive.
Yeah.
Hunting out Pokemon, doing day night cycle, trying to make sure that like there's a full moon out because certain rare Pokemon will come out with a full moon. There are spatial distortions or time distortions where you can catch rare Pokemon that you can only catch in certain areas. So like hitting those and trying to rotate through is really cool. Look, they've added so many mechanics
Yeah.
that fit so well. But they've also taken mechanics from previous games that are kind of hidden mechanics. They're really only being used by like the diehard Pokemon fans who want to, they want to collect them all. They want to fill the Pokédex. They want to do everything they can possibly do, min-maxing stats, things like that. Those mechanics are now being added to the forefront as like something that you would want to do and it not being something that seems like a burden. So like I just keep looking back and I just keep playing it and I'm like, man, like this is really damn good. And with it being in the Breath of the Wild engine, I think game looks good. Like in handheld mode, I've seen the people posting images and screenshots from the Switch OLED to the regular Switch and
Yeah.
comparing. And
Yeah.
you can definitely tell there's a leap in like the brightness of the colors, especially if you're playing in the OLED version. But even in handheld mode, the game looks good. And on the big screen, it just looks even better and it's more vast and open. I will say, and these are no spoilers, where I am right now, I've about to open, or I just opened my 5th biome. So the way they do it now is it's not a true full open world, which is kind of a bummer. And I do kind of hope that eventually in upcoming Pokemon games, they do give you a full open world.
Yeah.
In this one in particular, you get miniature open worlds that you have full traversal for. So as you go through, you'll get mounts. Mounts will help you go faster. They'll help you cross water. They'll help you climb mountains. So when you get these new mounts and then you go back to areas you were past, and then you can get to and you can access areas you couldn't before, there's like a whole slew of new Pokemon that you weren't able to even see. So it gives you the want to go back to the original levels where your Pokemon might be over leveled for the normal area, but with those new unlocked areas, it opens it up and you can catch more where they are. It just look, I can't stress it enough. If you are a Pokemon fan, you will not have a better Pokemon experience than right here. If you were a Pokemon fan in the past but got tired of the formula and think Pokemon is a kid's game, still probably is a kid's game, but
Mm-hmm.
it's so much more enjoyable than you could possibly imagine. And if you're someone who never played Pokemon before, you don't understand what Pokemon is, I think this is a perfect launch pad for someone who isn't into Pokemon, never played Pokemon, is tired of Pokemon. This is a perfect place to get back in. Skip Diamond and Pearl, though those games were a ton of fun to play. This is the future of Pokemon. It's here. You are seeing the first draft of what I genuinely hope Pokemon is going to be in years' time. This is it. This is the moment we've been waiting for. This is the game that I wanted as a kid when I was playing Pokemon Yellow. Or actually, technically, my first game was Pokemon Blue. This is the game that I wanted as a kid. And now we've got it. I can play it on my big screen. I can play an open world Pokemon game where I'm catching Pokemon by sneaking up on them in tall grass. I've got my lineup right now is I've got Typhlosion. I've got my homeboy Golduck. It's my favorite Pokemon in the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
I've got my homeboy Golduck. The thing is like I can't even remember the exact lineup I've currently got because I have been switching it so often, trying out new Pokemon because there's so many. It's just like I will go on for hours raving about this with Patrick. I know you're about half as much like half time that I'm in the game. So like, what are you thinking as someone who? Because I know like I'm more of a Pokemon guy than you are. So
for
tell
sure.
me.
Yeah. So I've always liked Pokemon, more so as an idea than as a video game. Like I like the IP. I think they're like it's a fun thing. I liked the animated show a lot as a kid. I played Red and Yellow and all the ones like on the Game Boy, but from Red and Yellow, the next Pokemon I played, other than like Snap and Coliseum and stuff, I think might have been Sword and Shield. Like I dabbled and like I saw a gameplay of game like certain ones and whatnot, but I'd never been super drawn to Pokemon, mostly because I know that they're really easy and I know that they are a lot of the time kind of the exact same formula, just with different Pokemon and different characters. So when this was announced, I was really excited. I was like, hey, this actually looks like something that is not just like the same as it's always been. And for the most part, I think they nailed it in that it is something new. I think there are a few things that you touched on that I agree with that I really like. Things like the alpha Pokemon actually being difficult. So it feels way more accessible from a fun standpoint and from an engagement standpoint. Like I don't
Mhm.
feel like I'm spending so much time just like walking around and just like waiting to be attacked. And because especially like one of the things that I've always disliked about um JRPGs with that kind of mechanic where you're walking through the world and then you're attacked and it does the battle music and the game is changing and that kind of thing. After a certain point, okay, I've played the game for 30 hours. I just want to get to point B from point A. I
Mhm.
really don't need to be attacked. And like with this game, if I get to that point, I really can just avoid any Pokemon I need to. I can just run through. I battle if I want to. Because even if a Pokemon comes at me and attacks me in the open world, it doesn't immediately start battle. I
Yeah.
have to throw a Pokemon out and be like, cool, let's fight, bitch. We don't do that, which is great. I I get to fight and do things on my time, on my terms, because ultimately that like I think a game like this should be on the player's terms, like to a certain degree. Um,
Mhm.
all of that being said, I still wish that the story fucking meant anything.
Yeah.
Like it just
I agree.
I'm at a point now where and I really didn't want this to be the case, but it quickly became the case where I am furiously tapping A to get through any dialogue
Mhm.
because I try, but it's just like boring. I'm just like at this point, like you're not telling me anything. You're not showing me anything. You're just like all these characters are just like saying similar things, and it just feels like you're not actually telling a story. You're just writing dialogue for conversations as opposed to telling me a story. Um, so that's definitely like I really hope if the Legends series continues that they really try to bolster up the storytelling of it because I think they're onto something really special with this game.
Mhm.
And like if with this being the first iteration of it, it's really exciting for me like what the sequel to Arceus can be because there's a lot here that I think really works. And the things that don't work, I don't think there are enough of them to make this game ultimately not fun. A thing
Mhm.
that you mentioned that I really love is the introduction of mounts, being able
Yeah.
to if I need to get from one side of the map to the other quickly and I don't want to either teleport to like the closest camp or I just want to go through the world and like if there's a Pokemon I want to try to catch, I have that opportunity. I you can move so quickly with the mounts. I don't have any that fly yet. I'm assuming that I will get one that flies at some point. Um, I only have one that runs, but I think it really like introduces a really cool aspect of like I know in the other Pokemon games you could get a bike and the bike would make you fast.
Mhm.
But with these you can like jump to places you haven't been able to jump to before and like kind of like what you were talking about. So yeah, ultimately I think I am as impressed as I think I expected I would be, but there are certain things that still aren't working mainly the story. And also I actually kind of disagree with you on the graphics and like the the animations and stuff. I don't think the game is particularly very pretty. I think
Mhm.
parts of it are. I think it's a game that relies on its art style more than its technical capabilities, which sometimes can work. Wind Waker comes to mind. Like that game is
Mhm.
really pretty, but it's just the art style. It's not the engineering of the game. But I feel like there's a lot of I'm only I would say 95% of the time I've played on handheld, so that's maybe part of it. Um, I do have the Switch OLED, so like it is pretty with its color, but I'm having a lot of like pop-in issues. I'm having a lot
Sure. Yeah.
of things like disappearing on me. I'm having some like buggy things like that.
Hmm.
And but like I also wasn't expecting it to really look like Breath of the Wild, even though it's in the engine. Like
Hmm.
I kind of had those expectations tempered. But with that being said, like whenever Switch 2.0 comes around or Switch Pro comes around, whatever that is, a Legends game in like the next generation of console, I
Yeah.
think could be like breathtakingly pretty. I
Oh
think
yeah, I
I
agree.
think it was held back a little bit by the hardware, essentially. But yeah, ultimately,
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't.
I agree. Like,
Yeah.
I think this is great. I think they nailed it. I think I'm really happy as someone who is not typically a Pokemon guy, and I think I echo what you say of if you like Pokemon but you've been away from it for a while, or if you just like have never really wanted to try it, I think this is a really good place to start because it
Yeah.
feels different, it feels new, it feels fresh. Um, Not in every way, but in enough ways that I am really enjoying it so far.
If you, Patrick, were to give this game a set of shovels,
Oh,
for
sure.
instance,
Huh.
what how many shovels would you give?
Look at you. I bringing back a little known gem that I wish I had not forgotten about, but I did until this exact moment. I I think it's unfair for me to give it like a final score right now because I'm only
Sure.
about 7 to 8 hours in. However,
Mhm.
if the game were ending right now, if I was like right before the final battle, I would probably give this 3 shovels out of 5.
Okay.
If it was a 10-point scale, I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. I
Okay.
wouldn't give it a 6 out of 10.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
So
yeah, go ahead.
for me, I would give it shovel wise. I would probably go ahead. I would give it about a four
Yeah.
out of five shovels. I'm farther in the game, so more has opened up to me so far. You're going to get access to more stuff, and some of the newer biomes that you get into are very interesting. There's a lot of like world building in some of those biomes as well, so they're going to give you some like you'll get to like some obviously no spoilers, but there's like ones with some ruins that are very interesting.
Mm,
Honestly, and maybe it's the Pokemon nerd in me who just is just feeling a lot of nostalgia for it. And if I am, I'm sorry. Obviously, I don't want that to spoil my review. But yeah, I would probably give it a solid 8.5 out of 10 if the game were to end right now.
yeah.
Where I think I'm about to unlock the last area that I know of that they're kind of leading it to.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like I'm probably rounding the curve, getting closer to the end. Now, with a lot of other Pokemon game, well, not with a lot, with the majority of the Pokemon games, what they end up doing is after you beat the main story, there's additional content that you can do
Mm,
that
mhm.
opens up more. So I don't think that I'm close to the end per se. If they continue the tradition of doing
Sure.
that, I probably story wise, I probably have another 5 to maybe 10 hours max. I would say 10 is absolute max. Which would make sense. That's normally what a normal Pokemon game is about 25 hours for the story, and then with the additional content you can put in
Yeah.
however much you want. But yeah, I would probably say 8 to 8.5. There are like you mentioned, there are technical issues with pop-ins. There's a lot of pop-ins. It doesn't maximize the Breath of the Wild um, game engine.
Yeah.
And so but I think that that's more so of it. Just this is the first time they've used it. This is the first step in a completely different direction. It feels like if I were to really hammer it down with an analogy, or to try to make it more relatable, I would say if you've played the Uncharted series, this feels like Uncharted 1, where you can
Mm,
see all of the incredible things that are
sure.
going to
Yes.
come from it. They're not hitting everything at 100% like you would see with Uncharted 2, 3, and 4, but you can definitely see that the bricks have been laid, the paths have been made. There will be coming off of this one of the greatest Pokemon games ever made is going to be coming like directly off the heels of Legends Arceus.
Sure.
Um, But I don't think that that's a bad thing. I still think this is incredibly entertaining. It's so much fun. It's a perfect game to be playing for a couple hours at a time or even a 30-minute little burst. It's great for that. For the price point of $60, like you're going to get your money's worth for this.
Yeah.
Where some games just won't. And I think that this is, like I said before, and what Patrick said, if you are on the fence, like I hope this review will help push you over the line. Play it. It's a really, really fun game. You're gonna get a lot of enjoyment out of it. And I'm just, for one, I'm just happy that it's as good as it is right now, and am incredibly excited for what this is going to be in the future.
Well, we like it. If you have any questions about the game, feel free to email us, text us, DM us. Happy to help if you're kind of on the fence, that kind of thing. But ultimately, we both really like it, and we would recommend you buy it if you have a Switch and if you want to play it. Moving on to the next story. This is one that I am very excited to talk about because it seems like every time we turn around on this godforsaken show, the joke at the very beginning, episode 1 through 15, Kamen's always wrong. Kamen's always wrong. And now you have not predicted but one giant multi-billion-dollar acquisition. You have now predicted a second. And the amount of times that I've seen online this week since yesterday of people being like, I never saw this coming. And I'm like, well, I have a fucking whole podcast episode where me and Evan are like, Kamen, you're an idiot. This isn't going to happen. I've done a lot of kind of beating around the bush here. PlayStation has bought Bungie for $3.6 billion. And Kamen, you predicted this was going to happen 2 weeks ago. So I want to ask you a couple things. I want to ask you, one, how do you keep doing this? And two, what do you think? Like, what does this acquisition make you think compared to the ones that we have seen earlier this month?
So how do I continue to be right? First and foremost, I want to point out that, yes, the running joke was Kamen's always wrong. I'm right when it counts. I'm right when there's money on the line. And in these situations, I've been right on $70+ billion worth of money. Look, man, it's just... the truth of the matter is, at the end of the day, is that I'm a wizard. Actually, the truth of the matter is not that I'm a wizard. The truth of the matter is,
my mic was just muted.
it's just I am. Look, these are educated guesses based on context, based on what these companies need to do to succeed, and the decisions they're making to get there. With the Activision Blizzard acquisition by Microsoft, one of the big things was when they purchased Bethesda, the whole reason they did that is because Microsoft has fallen so far behind Sony when it comes to first-party exclusives. They need a driving force. Game Pass, awesome. Wonderful product. So excited that we should be getting a Sony version as well for the people on PlayStation. And then, Nintendo just does whatever the fuck Nintendo wants to do whenever Nintendo wants to do it. But once again, the reason Game Pass started is because Microsoft lacks exclusives. By purchasing Bethesda, by purchasing Activision and Blizzard, they are now capable and able to combat Nintendo and Sony with their own first parties. So what this leads into is that those decisions were made, and the context behind why specifically they purchased Activision is because Activision was in a fire sale. The Bobby Kotick incident just absolutely fucking tanked Activision. It actually came out a report later. I'm not sure if we discussed on the show. EA was about to buy Activision Blizzard, and they were outbid by Microsoft.
I completely missed that.
Yeah. So
this is news to me.
So that's the thing is, like, and you can kind of see the writing on the wall, right? Like, they needed a change in leadership. They needed to placate their shareholders. A buyout, selling themselves off, was the best way for them to do that.
Right.
In this particular situation, the reason that I assume Bungie would be the team, the developer that PlayStation would go after, and I ended up being proven a little bit wrong here, as well as one, this talk has been in the making for a while. They even say as much as by saying, "Hey, look, we were in talks to purchase them before the Activision Blizzard news even dropped."
Right.
Like, we had no clue about that when this was starting.
Yeah, this isn't a rebuttal to that.
But the thing is, it makes sense in context, right? Bungie is a large company. They have one flagship title because they're no longer doing obviously they're not doing Halo anymore.
Right.
But Destiny 2 is their flagship title. There's allegedly another title in the works, but they've only got one big thing. However, that one big thing is what PlayStation lacks, and what PlayStation lacks is big multiplayer games like
Right.
this.
Yeah.
They are hands down the best in the world when it comes to first party games, but they struggle when it comes to multiplayer, large MMOs.
Yeah.
If you look over at at Microsoft, the Halo, what they were able to do with Halo Infinite has been a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Their other purchases are going to be larger deals as well, but that's the one thing that Sony lacks is that big multiplayer game that's going to drive a community.
Yeah.
And Bungie is the perfect one for it. And they're a perfect fit for PlayStation. Now, do I like it? Patrick, why don't you tell the audience what PlayStation had to say about that?
Yeah. So this blog post came out of nowhere yesterday morning, or I guess for our audience, Monday morning, not yesterday morning. This is coming straight from Jim Ryan, president and CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment. He says, "Today, I'm happy to announce Bungie will be joining the PlayStation family. First off, I want to be very clear to the community that Bungie will remain an independent and multi-platform studio and publisher. As such, we believe it makes sense for it to sit alongside the PlayStation Studios organization, and we're incredibly excited about the opportunities for synergies and collaboration between these two world-class groups. Bungie's world-class expertise in multi-platform development and live game services will help us deliver on our vision of expanding PlayStation to hundreds of millions of gamers. Bungie is a great innovator and has developed incredible proprietary tools that will help PlayStation Studios achieve new heights under Herman Hulst's leadership." So yeah, that speaks exactly to what you were just saying. This is not about, okay, we have The Last of Us, we have Horizon, we have all these other first party games. Now we have Destiny. This is about, we don't have a strong track record of multiplayer live service games. This helps us get there. Because there's a lot more to this that we'll kind of continue pulling from, but ultimately the move here for Sony was, let's bring in the best of the best in online live service multiplayer games, because they go on to say, let me see if I can find this real quickly. They go on to say that, here we go. This is from Jim Ryan. I've been on record talking about increasing the size of the PlayStation community and expanding beyond our historic console heartland. This can take many forms, and definitely one of the main forms is the ability for the wonderful games that we've been making over the past 25 years to be enjoyed in different places and played in different ways. We're starting to go multi-platform. You've seen that. This is Patrick jumping in. We've seen that with them putting games on PC, not on Xbox. Back to Jim. We have an aggressive roadmap with live services and the opportunity to work with and particularly learn from the brilliant and talented people from Bungie that is going to considerably accelerate the journey we find ourselves on. So it's so interesting to me that I think what they're hinting at is, we want to use Bungie's expertise so that Guerrilla can learn, how can you implement live service aspects to the next Horizon game? Or how can The Last of Us, their next iteration, learn from what it's like to make a multi-platform game like this, blah, blah, blah. Those kinds of the wide reach, as opposed to the, I don't know if this is actually a thing, but the thin reach of just like, hey, we have incredible third person action story driven games, but ultimately, what we've seen the industry doing over the last 5 to 10 years is, if you want to make money, you do it by creating a game that can last 10 years, that can evolve, that can change to match the trends that are happening in the industry. And a single player story driven game can't really do that to a certain degree. The way you do that is through multiplayer. So I think it makes total sense. I think you nailed it on the head. The other really interesting piece about this is from Bungie's perspective. going back to the blog post, the quote that I just read, I didn't mention this. It's from an interview from gamesindustry.biz, but that Christopher Dring did. We'll be pulling from that more. But this is back to the blog post that PlayStation dropped. This is from Pete Parsons, CEO of Bungie. He says, we believe games have limitless potential, and that to do anything worthwhile in entertainment, we must bet big on our vision, on our studio, and on our incredible team of trusted creators who build unforgettable worlds that truly matter to people. He goes on to say, together, we share a dream of creating and fostering iconic franchises that unite friends around the world, families across generations, and fans across multiple platforms and entertainment mediums. This is the big one. Today, Bungie begins our journey to become a global multimedia entertainment company. So what they're saying is we're not just making games anymore as Bungie. We're going to make TV shows. We're going to use Sony Pictures to make TV shows, to make movies, to make that. They're so confident in their own storytelling and in their own worlds, which I don't think they're wrong, that we need a partner in Sony to achieve that vision. And Sony needs a partner in Bungie to achieve their vision of multi-platform live service video games.
Mm-hmm.
So this, it's like, it's just like it's a puzzle piece. It's not a, like what you were saying earlier with Microsoft. Yeah. It's not, let's just buy things up. It's like, hey, we can actually help each other. And I think that's actually kind of cool.
PlayStation has been like that. If you have seen their most recent acquisitions, they haven't been, I mean, outside of Housemark, they haven't been like these huge game developers, these huge companies. They're smaller companies. Things like Blue Point, so they can remake classic games. Things like was it Fire? I'm forgetting the name off the top of my head, but the VR team.
Oh yeah,
to be able to start.
Yeah, whatever. Keep going.
Yeah, so they're building, and that's what Sony does well, is that they understand they don't need to just go out and buy. They buy strategically to be able to basically foster or build upon the unit they already have. But before we go any further, I would be remiss to say and point out something you said at the beginning of the article, which is where things get a little cagey not cagey, they're better for me. And this is what I say when I said earlier that, like, will I like this? Because if you listen to previous episodes when we talked about some of these acquisitions, it's me being incredibly frustrated because I feel like these aren't good for the consumer. It's forcing people to have to buy multiple consoles. It's forcing people to break off from where they like to play to be able to play a game that they grew up playing, because we can't keep it all together. Everything has to be separate now, and it's all money driven, and it's just bad for the consumer. And so this, when I first read the title, was terrifying to me. And I've said it in the past, I'll say it again, that when Microsoft did the Bethesda acquisition, when Microsoft did the Blizzard Activision acquisition, I was frustrated and angry. And I said the same thing. I said, if Sony were to do this, I would be just as mad, just as frustrated, and just as disappointed if they did. So when I initially saw that title, I immediately jumped to, Jesus fucking Christ, here we go again.
Yeah.
And I was frustrated. But then what is said in the article, and this comes from this comes from Herman Hulse, I believe, or Jim Ryan. He said, first off, I want to be very clear to the community that Bungie will remain an independent and multi-platform studio and publisher. Then later down the line, Pete Parsons, the CEO of Bungie, says the same thing, essentially saying, we will continue to independently publish and creatively develop our games. These games will be for every platform. So both the head of PlayStation and the head of Bungie have both already stated in clear cut, these games, Destiny 2 will not leave Xbox.
Yeah.
Will not leave PC.
It's so interesting to me that I don't know that we've ever seen an acquisition like this, where, because typically the reason that you acquire someone is so that, like in these examples where PlayStation buying somebody, Nintendo buying somebody, Xbox buying somebody, so that they become the publisher of your game exclusively. But this one, they're being like, no, they're going to still publish, which means they're going to still pay for that part of putting out a game. They're going to be the ones dealing with all of the stuff that comes with publishing a video game. This isn't about that. And I think that's That's why ultimately, obviously this could change at some point. At any point, this could change. But I think this is pro-consumer, not
Mhm.
anti-consumer in this exact example, because it's not about um it's not about gatekeeping. It's not about bringing more people to the PlayStation platform because that's the only place you can play Destiny. It's about, this is a hole that we as Sony see in our database, in our library. And this is a hole that we see as Bungie in the way that we make games and what we want to do in our future. And
Mhm.
those two things can coexist if we
Yeah.
partner up. There's
And they're
go ahead.
mutually beneficial. These are
Yeah,
mutually beneficial acquisition, and this is it's gonna be interesting because part I understand the whole, they're saying we'll continue to independently publish and develop our games. PlayStation's going to have a hand in it somehow. Um, I would like to believe that what probably ends up happening is that when PlayStation does eventually announce and launches whatever Project Spartacus is,
yeah,
that Destiny 2 and any expansions will become free and part of that service, so that if you do have it through Sony, like Sony's version of Game Pass, you'll be able to access those titles, including Destiny, at no cost to you, where it would cost you on other platforms, which
right.
makes sense. But it also seems to me like this could potentially even be an olive branch that Sony is offering to Microsoft, being like, hey, not that really Microsoft's in a position to have to accept it like Sony
Sure.
would be, but it almost seems like it would be a way for them to be like, "Hey, look, we're going to take the first step in towards coming to an agreement so that players on PlayStation still can have access to games like Call of Duty or,
Yeah.
you know, um uh Diablo, or shit, even Bethesda games. Like this could potentially be their way of saying, "Hey, look, we understand that there's a ton of players of Destiny on Xbox. We don't want to ruin that.
Yeah.
We want to come to a way that we can be able to mend some of these concessions here."
Yeah.
And whether Microsoft takes it or whether PlayStation even reaches out and even attempts to do that, is all future speculation at that point. But it does position Sony in a way that I don't think Sony has been for a long time,
Sure.
and that is pro consumer. Because with Game Pass, everyone's like, "Shit, good, good guy Microsoft, good guy Microsoft, good guy Microsoft," because of Game Pass, and good on them. That is a great thing. That's something that
Yeah.
I think, whether we like the idea of moving to a streaming only world, um, that's not a terrible thing for players. It's a budget. You can be able to play, you know, Halo at launch for $15 a month. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And the thing is that if we get to that world, you still want some cohesion.
Yeah.
And I think that this is a good move on them for coming out up front and saying, "Hey, we're going to establish this without any speculation whatsoever. Destiny 2 will not be removed. Future Bungie titles will not be removed from platforms. Everyone will be able to play." The question is will we see a PlayStation logo show up on Microsoft?
Oh, we definitely will.
I mean, we already have it on PlayStation. If you play Minecraft,
Right.
the Microsoft logo comes up. So, Sony already has one Microsoft published title on
Yeah.
their consoles
And
with
Psychonauts, I
the
think. Right.
yeah, and
Yeah.
Psychonauts as well. So the question is what does this mean for the
Sure.
future? And unfortunately, we won't know until probably, I would say probably at the earliest 2023.
Sure.
I don't think we'll know for a fact until the next Call of Duty game launches.
Do you think so? Since our episode about Activision Blizzard, there was a tweet that Phil Spencer said. I don't have it in front of me, so I'm paraphrasing. But he basically was like, "Hey, I just had a call with heads of PlayStation, with Jim Ryan, all those guys and gals. We have talked like with the intent of holding up current contracts, blah blah blah." Essentially, what he was saying in his Phil Spencer way is, until we don't have to, we're going to still do it. And then at that point, we might not. Like, is
Yeah.
essentially what he was saying.
Yeah, it's just Phil
And
Spencer once again being cagey with the shit that he says.
sure, which like, because everything that he says is being looked over by 1,000 lawyers. But my point being, after that tweet came out, Jim Ryan was on record somewhere saying, like, I hope that Microsoft continues to keep Call of Duty multi-platform. This interview happened after all of that happened. And I'm wondering if his quote where he says, we're starting to go multi-platform, you've seen that, is Jim Ryan's way of saying, like, hey, we're going to do it. So why don't you keep Call of Duty on PlayStation? Because until Microsoft owned Call of Duty, Sony didn't need any of the Microsoft games to be published on PlayStation. But the truth is, Call of Duty is, I mean, even this year, the top 10 selling video games, the top 2 were Call of Duty. One was last year's Call of Duty, and one was this year's Call of Duty. And this year's Call of Duty being released in November. So it was on the market for like 6 weeks, and it was still the highest selling video game of the entire year. And then the second one was the one from last year. Or maybe it was Warzone. I forget. It was, regardless, it was 2 Call of Duty games. But yeah, it's so fascinating. I'm so interested to see like where this goes, because there's so many interesting pieces. Another cool thing, and then I want to propose a question to you. But another cool thing that came from that interview that Christopher Dring did with both Pete Parsons and with Jim Ryan was about like the benefits that Bungie can also get from other first parties. Meaning, so Pete goes on to say, Sony have been so gracious over the last decade to give us early insight onto their platforms and technologies and games. The ability to work with thought leaders within the Sony network is incredible. We're already friends with a lot of them. If you think about the list of games who live within the Sony Interactive Entertainment Company, it's incredible. And I also think we have something to offer. So he's talking about, they got Cory Barlog, they got Neil Druckmann, they got Jade Raymond now, they got like all these other people that we are now like in a family, and we can learn from each other. We can benefit from each other, because before this point, they were technically competition, but they're not competition anymore. So let's put the brightest video game minds in the same room and let's make some cool shit, essentially, is kind of what he's saying. And I think that's really cool and really exciting.
Oh no, I agree 100%. And I think that's it. Like I said, it is mutually beneficial for Bungie to do something like that.
Yeah.
There is, and I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but there was a tweet that came out from Jeff Cayley, and correct me if I'm wrong, was it Herman Holst who also tweeted something?
Let me see.
And said that it was essentially, and I'm paraphrasing here, that this isn't the last of the acquisitions that we're going to see.
Yeah. He says, have heard from multiple people. As you might suspect, there are a few other big video game deals in final stages of negotiation. God, I can't read today. It's going to be an interesting year, Jeff says. And this was like 5 hours ago. Keep going though.
So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
This year is going to be, and part of me also wonders if, I mean, the Activision deal, that one, obviously there's a very pointed reason why that happened.
Right.
Like they basically were kind of forced into a corner. But the other question is, this year already we've seen Zynga being bought out by Take-Two as well for $12 billion
in January.
Yeah. So I mean, this is all happening, in January.
Yeah.
So the question that kind of comes up is, are we going to see smaller studios essentially selling themselves to some of the larger publishers because of the pandemic?
Yeah, that's a really great point.
Something that that kind of happens is you have to take in consideration that a lot of these companies, they're basically working on investment capital, and they have to show something for it.
Sure.
When you start to get into talks of delays and having to move everyone remotely, and are you selling an office? Do you still have an office? There's unexpected expenses and that arise, and the pandemic has exacerbated those situations immensely. That are there going to be smaller studios that would normally be able to function without any issue whatsoever, who currently could be potentially trying to sell themselves to some of these larger publishers or developers by saying like, hey, look, we've done work in the past and we need help. And then the question is, one, who picks them up?
Yeah.
I don't foresee Nintendo outside of maybe Platinum Games picking up anyone, because the truth of the matter is 90%, if not more than that, of Nintendo exclusives are made in house. And they have like their Nintendo team 1, 2, 3, whatever.
Yeah.
And then you got, team like Retro Games. So they do have a couple studios that aren't just specifically inside. So I don't really see, like I said, outside of Platinum Games, Nintendo picking up anyone else. But the question is like, is Sony just or Microsoft just dropped 70 billion on Activision Blizzard, and it still has to pass the FTC, so no money has exchanged hands. But that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So are they still in the market to pick up teams? The way that Herman Hulse made it sound was that this isn't the last studio or something that we're gonna see.
Yeah. So at the end of the
PlayStation pick up.
interview, Christopher Dring, being a journalist, asking the hard hitting questions, essentially asked like, "Are we going to see more?" And actually, there's a couple of pieces here. One of the things he was like, was this a reaction to Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard? Jim Ryan says, these conversations have been a number of months in gestation and certainly predate the activity that we've seen this year. From our perspective, this is really doing what we feel is right for PlayStation and whatever we feel is the right thing to drive PlayStation to places we've never been before. This has nothing to do with industry consolidation. This has everything to do with a shared vision and how we could do things better. We should absolutely expect more, he concludes. We are by no means done. With PlayStation, we have a long way to go. I will personally be spending a lot of my time with Pete and the team at Bungie, helping make sure that everything beds down right and that autonomy means autonomy. But elsewhere in the organization, we have many more moves to make. Mm-hmm. So this isn't it for them. So what I'm really curious to see is when they say this isn't it for them, are they going to be going after other things that just fit right and like make sense and that they can kind of coexist in a way that one helps the other and vice versa? Or are they going to go the Microsoft route and just kind of swing their dick and try to play the old school console war? Or are they kind of really eyes forward? And I don't know. I'm really interested to see that. But I'm curious, Kamen, if you have, you obviously you have a connection to the other side. You have your finger on a pulse. Is it my pulse? Who's to say? What are you thinking could potentially happen next? I have my own thought, but I'm interested to hear what you have been thinking and stewing on.
So I'm going to give you, I've got a few predictions, and these are obviously speculative. There's one in particular, though, that I feel deep down inside my gut. It's churning, it's burning.
Ooh.
And it's telling me that Sony is going to buy IPs.
So meaning like, hey, I want to buy Grand Theft Auto. I'm not going to buy Take-Two. Interesting. Okay.
Sony will buy Metal Gear Solid and Silent Hill from Konami.
I love that idea. I think that's great. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me tell you why. And this is why I'm specifically saying Sony doesn't need Konami. There's a reason why. Konami is not like a normal game developer. They're more akin to something like, not Sony. They're almost like a Japanese version of like Disney. Konami owns like a health food line. They also own like spas and nightclubs. They own
casino stuff.
Manufacturing. They own like all of this different stuff. So Sony buying Konami, and I've read online, people are like, oh, that, buy Konami. And then people are like, why would you? No, they don't need any of that shit. However, there's two big reasons.
Like this idea.
There's two big reasons why I think that this is a perfect buy for Sony, is to buy just those two franchises from Konami. I mean, they could bundle in and get a couple more games if they want to, but the two big pickups are Metal Gear Solid and Silent Hill. Reason being, one, Konami is backing off of making games. They've already said that before, that they are reducing their game making. They're still capitalizing on, their pachinko machines with some of these licenses, but they're not utilizing them in the same way. Why this makes sense for Sony is, one, you pick up two huge IPs that people want.
Yeah.
First and
Yeah.
foremost is Kojima. Having a built relationship already with doing Death Stranding, Kojima with Konami, giving him access again to Metal Gear, which he said in the past, he said, no, there's all rumors. Sony has no intents or plans whatsoever. I don't buy that. What I will say is that these also are two franchises. We've already gotten two Silent Hill movies back years ago. They're all ass garbage movies, just real bad. But Sony Pictures could pick them up and could still make Silent Hill movies and make them good, I guess. I mean, who fucking knows? Let's see what Uncharted turns out like first. But we know for a fact that Konami wants to have a Metal Gear Solid movie. We've got a director tied to it.
Yeah.
They're struggling to get that off the ground. If Sony swoops in with enough money and says, hey, look, we'll take this, we'll buy this out. Yeah. We'll take care of it. We'll give you residuals for whatever. We'll give you we'll buy the IPs. We'll give you residuals for the movies. We'll give you residuals, whatever. They can do that. And it's not the first time that developers have bought IP. Hell, right now, I was reading online that you actually you can buy. There's like a whole community who buys vacant IP from games like Atari and the SNES from like dead developers, and these IP just float into nothing, and they buy them for dirt cheap and then use the game assets to try to remake games for community. Right. So this isn't the first time. So I think that that's a move that Sony could make. I think the second move, and this one's a
Can
little
I jump
bit
in very quickly?
less. Yeah, please.
It was on this very show that I predicted a new Metal Gear game would come out this year. Now, maybe I got the year wrong, but I like that idea because that means I'm right. But continue. Second prediction came in.
Second prediction, Sony buys From Software.
Sure.
This one could also be one that they could use for multiple IP, or not multiple IP, because technically Bandai Namco owns Dark Souls. And I think Bandai Namco is also publishing Elden Ring. So they couldn't, I mean, they could probably work a deal out where they could get Elden Ring too. But we already know that From Software, we already know that From Software is very much intrinsically tied with Sony already, with Bloodborne, with Demon Souls, with all these other games. It makes sense. This is like this is a perfect pickup for Sony, just to be not to remove it from the market or not let anyone else have access to it. It just is a strategic move for Sony to be able to do that. I think it works. Also, I think too, because there's been talks before about a Bloodborne 2. That could be kind of the lead into that. Also, you have the situation where they've also talked about turning Bloodborne into a movie or a TV series as well. That's another way for them to expand their lineup already for the entertainment industry portion of Sony. The two other ones, and these are kind of just toss-ups on ones that I'm shocked that Sony hasn't, but actually both of these I'm shocked Sony hasn't bought already, but I'll tie them both together. Supermassive Games, Quantic Dream.
Sure.
Both of those are, once again, intrinsically tied to Sony. I think that I don't think that you need both a Quantic Dream and a Supermassive, since they make like almost the exact same type of game. With Quantic Dream being in a lot of trouble right now, with all the accusations about how they're being run, that might be one for Sony just to pick up for dirt cheap because of it. Now, the big stretch. This isn't a prediction. This is just in the future. I could see this happening.
Okay.
Sony buys Square Enix.
Okay, sure.
It's one of those where if I believe that this acquisition, if Sony buys Square Enix, it makes 110% sense. If Microsoft says, no, we're not going to give Call of Duty to PlayStation. This is the punchback that takes the jaw.
Well,
and they say, we're going to take Final Fantasy. We're going to take all this shit. Fuck you. You're out.
You know what I would
that's going to be where the console war hits its maximum, is if they buy Square Enix.
You know what I think would actually be the bigger punchback?
Okay.
Is Sony buys Epic. And Fortnite becomes a PlayStation game.
That would be huge. I don't know if Sony could afford that.
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I mean that's kind of the one of the really big question marks. But with how huge Fortnite is, because like when they announced, when they being Microsoft announced they were buying Activision Blizzard, then the question is like, okay, well, what are the other biggest game franchises that could potentially be bought? Grand Theft Auto, Fortnite.
Mm-hmm.
I think Grand Theft Auto probably is even more expensive than Fortnite. So I was thinking that maybe Fortnite is like the less expensive option, but they're a privately owned company. They're not public. So I think it could potentially happen, but I think it's a bit of a stretch. I would think Square would probably happen before Epic, but hey, I also completely didn't think Bungie would ever be bought, mostly because they'd already been bought twice and gained their independence twice. But yeah, Square is interesting
So
to me.
as of right now, this is essentially what this is as of 2020. So this obviously is probably going to be higher than that. But as of 2020, Epic Games was evaluated at just shy of 30 billion.
Interesting.
Um,
That's a lot of money.
and the other issue is that Tencent, the Chinese conglomerate, has stake in Epic as well. So that could potentially
Is it
provide
a
some
majority
very.
stake?
I don't think it's a majority stake, but it's enough there. And Tencent is, and that's another prediction I have, is that Tencent's going to buy out a huge company soon too.
Sure. And
So
maybe
the
they buy out
question
Epic.
is, yeah, they could. That could be the next big one, is that Tencent buys Epic, which I wouldn't be shocked if that does happen. They've already
Yeah.
got a portion of Epic, and I could see that happening.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a punchback. The question is like, does are you're hedging a lot of bets that Fortnite is going to stay as popular? It's definitely seen a huge decline since its origination. It's still a very large game, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but it's. I mean, I could also see Sony buying Rocket League.
Sure. Well, wait.
I mean, they got it. They're already into esports. They bought one of the big esports. They bought out Discord. They already did, like, the initial release when Rocket League first came out. They did it for free on PlayStation. I could see them coming in and, if they really
Someone
want to
did
get
buy the
into it,
company that makes Rocket League. Their name is
that I'm not
escaping
sure.
me.
The
Psionics.
one of the things I saw online was someone being like, buying out Capcom, and I just don't think that buying out Capcom is a brilliant move.
Psionics is owned by Epic, so
Are they okay? So
yeah.
then never mind. Then I completely wrong.
Yeah.
So I would say, like, if we're doing like wild pick, Tencent buys out Epic by the end of the year.
Sure.
Like, I would hate that, but
Yeah.
that could happen. But no, I do. Yeah, I think that Sony is going to be strategic about what they're buying. They don't need to. Just like with Bungie, they don't need Bungie's title. They need Bungie's technology and Bungie's know-how.
Yeah.
And I think that them going into the market just to try to, like, punch back at Microsoft isn't a smart move for them.
Sure.
Buying Bungie is a smart move just for the technology, the know-how, the ability to kind of get into something that they have a hole.
Yeah.
But I feel like, they could potentially just swoop in and pick up especially if a team is struggling because of the pandemic and needs to be bought out. And if they have, so something like Quantic Dream or Supermassive could potentially be in the throes of money issues. Sony could come and help out, and an acquisition makes sense there. The hope is that if they do purchase any company going forward, that they do not lock it as an exclusive.
Yeah.
We'll
see. Well, we will see. It's only February 3rd as this is released, so we have a lot of time to figure out what happens. But
is still young.
It's still very young. I think we should wrap up the show, Kamen, by doing a little PlayStation wrap up. Friend of the show, Skylar, posted on Instagram right before we started recording that he posted his PlayStation wrap up, which is the thing that PlayStation's doing where they kind of give you like number of hours played, top game played, that kind of thing. So first, I want to start by sharing Skylar's PlayStation wrap up. And then I want to talk about each of our PlayStation wrap ups as well. So go ahead and start pulling yours up, and I'm going to share Skylar's. Hi, Skylar. How are you? So Skylar, his number one game played last year was Mass Effect Legendary Edition for a whopping 112 hours. His second played game, Returnal, at 86. Deathloop at 64. This next one actually really shocks me. Hollow Knight Voidheart Edition, 58 hours. I didn't know that Hollow Knight was a game you could play for nearly 60 hours. But
Yeah, these
I guess
people, man.
I just don't know a lot about.
Blink twice if you need help, bro.
Well,
Blink twice.
His next one I think will make you happier. Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch, 48 hours or 45 hours.
Baby, get it.
Yeah, 45. So, I mean, we all know that Skylar has impeccable taste. I've not played Hollow Knight. I can't speak to Hollow Knight, but the other four, really, really lovely games. So, Kamen, what are your... Let's go through. So, let's do it this way. I'll ask you what it is. I'll say what mine is, and we'll just go through. And if there's ones that I skipped that you want to talk about, just jump in. What was your total number of hours played last year?
830.
Mine was 551.
Oh, you're a poser then.
I'm a poser.
Or you just have a life, and I'm just a sad sack of shit.
I played. I would probably say Xbox doesn't do this, but I probably had like 100 to 200 hours on Xbox because you don't play Xbox. I do. Yeah. But also I'm a poser. The total hour breakdown. Mine was 60% on PS5, 40% on PS4 games. What was yours?
Mine was 56% on PS5 titles and 44% on PS4.
Little half and half there. What was the number of total games you played in 2021?
Number of total games is a great question. Let me see. Only 37.
Mine was 28. Games. I felt like that was a little low, but
I was shocked that mine was as low as that. Yeah. I'm also shocked at what my number one.
Yeah. So let's do this. Let's go through our number 1 through 5. What's your number 1?
Number 1, 74 hours. Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Whoa. Okay. That makes sense. That one would have been my number 1 the year prior because I played that a bunch.
I saved Valhalla to play on the PlayStation 5 instead of PlayStation 4 because I think it was basically like I knew I was getting a PlayStation 5 and I didn't want to I wanted to see it at its best and I dumped some hours in that. What was your number 1?
My top 5 is honestly kind of shocking.
Okay.
Number 1 and number 2 aren't that shocking, but 3 through 5 are. Number 1, Mass Effect Legendary Edition, only 66 hours. I never actually played 3. I only played through 1 and 2. But yeah, my number 1 was Legendary Edition at 66 hours. What was your number 2?
My number 2 was Tales of Arise.
Nice.
Which I want to say was my favorite platinum of the year.
Hell yeah. My number 2 was my favorite platinum of the year, which was Deathloop at 47 hours.
My number 3, and this is going to be shocking. Tom Clancy's The Division 2.
A game released in like 2014.
Yeah, like I've said before.
No, it's a great game.
One's a fantastic game. If you haven't played it, you should fucking play the game, you fucking jerks. Sid's dad and I, or my fiance, her father, my soon-to-be father-in-law, we play Division 2 together online. And nice. I can 100% guarantee you that all 59 of those hours were in online mode playing with him.
Well, I can guarantee you that all 37 of my hours of number 3 were played with you online with Outriders.
Oh, that is true.
That's my number 3. I was so shocked by this.
Shockingly, Outriders didn't make my top 5. My number 4 game, and I'm very happy to say this, 54 hours. Sackboy's Big Adventure.
Nice. I still need to finish that. I never finished that game.
You really got to finish it. I will say that the reason that it's 54 hours is because I probably spent 10 of those trying to get the platinum trophy with the final trophy, which was the Rip Snorter. And No, I just gave up. Yeah. Dude, the thing is, it's incredible. The game is so much fun, and that trophy just absolutely ruined it for me.
My number 4 is a game that I want to play again this year once we get through the really, really busy next couple months of video games. Sure. Hitman 3 at 33 hours.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Yeah. And lastly, for me, coming in at number 5 was Mass Effect Legendary Edition with 53 hours. I finished, I platinumed the first Mass Effect 1, and I want to say I got very close to platinuming Mass Effect 2. and then just ended up whatever happened. There was like some other games that came out. I just had
Yeah.
to pause on. I haven't gotten back, but
Yeah.
that is one. 2 and 3. Getting the platinums on those is a definite for me.
Yeah.
Going forward. What's your number 5?
Yeah, I was able to get the platinum on 1 and 2, but since I didn't start 3, but I do plan on getting the platinum for 3. My number 5 was Disco Elysium, the final cut at 32, which again, like I wouldn't have guessed that this was my top 5.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I really enjoyed Disco Elysium. I just didn't think it would have been one of my top 5 games playing on PlayStation.
How many new trophies did you get this year?
748, which is probably not as many as you got.
903.
Yeah.
But I'm very disappointed in the next number, which I want to ask you, how many new platinums did you get?
I got 10 new platinums. Did I beat you?
No. But I only got 13.
Okay.
And that's a very disappointing number.
It's actually surprising to me. I feel like you texted me more than 13 times last year saying you got a platinum, but I guess not.
I think the thing is majority of the games that I platinum this past year were technically AAA games.
Yeah.
And so a lot of my time was spent on these AAA games, getting those platinums. But hey, look, it's all right. This year bounced back. I'm in a very slow start to the year since I've dumped a lot of time into Pokemon or Rocket League to start the year off. But as long as the trophy list doesn't suck for Horizon, I think that's like solid platinum for me. And if we see any sort of knockdown on the price of the Uncharted Legacy of Thieves edition, shockingly only 1 platinum on that one, which is kind of bullshit because when Lost Legacy came out, the standalone DLC for Uncharted 4, it had its own platinum. The trophy lists are exactly the same. But they removed the platinum for Legacy the Uncharted Legacy, whatever. Fuck it, whatever. I don't give a shit.
Lost Legacy.
I'm just frustrated with Sony for being like, they were able to give us 4 total platinums for the Mass Effect Legacy Edition,
but only 1 for Uncharted,
and only 1 for Uncharted. Like, dudes, like, Shuhei.
Yeah.
What the fuck, bro?
I will say, if I'd played a couple of the games I played on Xbox, I would have had 12 or 13 platinums. Because I know Death's Door, definitely I 100%ed on Xbox. I didn't for Psychonauts. I almost did. There's another one, but I probably 12. I don't think I would have got to 13. But yeah, that's our PlayStation wrap up for 2021. So if you're a PlayStation gamer and you want to see your PlayStation wrap up, go to wrapup.playstation.com. Great. Well, that does actually bring us to our conclusion. We will actually wrap up the show now, not a cheeky wrap up of another kind. Although actually, okay, I just lied. I did want to say very quickly, we have our first score in the Fantasy Critic League by one Evan Brando. He got 14.59 points for Pokemon Legends Arceus. So a good start for him.
13. Oh, that's a solid start. Yeah.
Yeah. Nearly 15 points.
Patrick, if you would humor me, I have one recommended viewing for our audience.
I will humor you.
Well, as we addressed earlier in the show, recommended viewing, obviously, if you want to tune in to Save Trash Cinema, want to watch the movie beforehand, the movie will be My Bloody Valentine.
Yep.
The 1981, not the Jensen Ackles remake from the 2000s. Get that garbage out of here.
We're not watching the Jensen Ackles?
Nah, dude, that's not. Fuck you. Get out. Fuck. Okay, but no, seriously though, recommended viewing is a movie I watched last night. If you are a horror fan, the movie is currently streaming for free on Tubi and Amazon Prime Video. That film is called Gonjiam Haunted Asylum. It's a South Korean found footage horror film. And I have to say, as someone who watches horror films regularly, this is the scariest film I've seen in years and might be my number 1 horror film that I've ever seen in terms of scares. Spooks and scares. It is absolutely pant-shittingly terrifying. And I could not recommend it enough. So if you are a horror fan, like I said, it's called Gonjiam, Gonjiam, Haunted Asylum. It's on Amazon Prime and Tubi. Check it out. Recommended viewing. It's fucking good.
Is there a movie you could compare it to, just to kind of put me in the mind space of like what it's like, both in quality and style? Or no?
I would say if you've ever seen the film Grave Encounters,
No, I
it's
haven't.
another found footage film set in a mental institute. It's kind of set up the same way. It follows a group of YouTubers
Hmm.
who do their own like haunted house exploring for their YouTube channel. Essentially, think of like Ghost Adventures.
Okay.
They get to this haunted asylum, and then shit hits the absolute fan. The last 30 minutes of the movie are you will be clenching your chest.
Huh.
It was one where we always do like group chats when we do our movies at night, me and a couple people, and this one no one said a word for 30 minutes
Yeah.
because it was just so like
Okay.
it was insane. It's great. So if you like horror films, like I said, go and GM Haunted Asylum, check it out.
I might check that out. I can get scared very easily, so I might not. But I might.
You're gonna love
Cool.
it.
Well, that brings us to our natural conclusion. We will lay this episode to rest by saying you can follow Kamen on Twitter at Kid Kamen. You can follow me on Twitter at Patrick Schwag. You can follow the pod on Twitter at Spot Games Pod, or you can follow it on Instagram at Spotlight Games Podcasts. You can rate and review them in those places. You can rate and review on Spotify. You can subscribe on YouTube. We've started posting more reels. We'd love it if you'd share those. That helps get more views and more eyes on our stuff. So it can go a long way in getting us more listeners and whatnot. So yeah, I thank you for your time. I thank you for your listenership, for your viewership if you're on YouTube. And all I'm going to leave this episode with is there are a lot of really fucking great sounding video games coming out this month. We're going to have a lot of content to talk through.
So much.
Keep your eyes and ears open. Have a great rest of your week. And I will see you on the flip flop.
Love you guys.
Love you. Bye-bye.